And welcome back to the show. In 2008, the United States Supreme Court upheld affirmative action in universities. They did so by ruling that an admissions policy using race as a criteria for determining admission to a university was to be permitted for the purpose of ensuring that the benefits that come with diversity in the university environment would be protected. Now, that decision was not popular with everyone. The issue then was tested once again in 2013 when the Supreme Court decided to uphold the 2008 case, but they ruled that the burden was on the university, not the rejected white student, to prove that giving entrance to a minority student at the expense of that white student was necessary to maintain a diverse student body. While this decision came as something of a relief to those who support affirmative action, in reality, the Supreme Court had made it considerably more difficult to use affirmative action in public universities. Now, applying the new test prescribed by the High Court in 2013, the Texas courts ended up siding again with the University of Texas and their affirmative action policy. So now, the case is coming back to Washington, back to the Supreme Court, where it's going to be heard yet again by the Supremes in the fall session. Now, I know that's a bit complicated. We're going to suss it out for you a bit in the discussion. The overall question is it time for affirmative action to come to an end at our universities in the United States? Emery.
Yeah, I think we need to take a serious look at it because as I've been thinking all along, I've seen kids get into college with a lower SAT score than a person that has like a 400 or something. And these kids they're devastated. You know, I got misplaced by a person that's that low. They go to school, and then 9 times out of 10, my son, I have 3 sons. All 3 went to college, okay?
Right.
They have told me stories. They said, Dad, here's a guy that comes in, he gets a grant, he gets a scholarship, his scores are low, he goes in, he parties, he spends the scholarship money, he spends the other grants that he gets. He's kicked out of college within less than 3 or 4 months.
And he took up somebody's seat.
And he took somebody who was going to be serious, spent that money, wasted that money. Nobody got anywhere.
I get that. Jonathan, in the case that's at hand here, it's about the University of Texas. And they have a policy that was already established where if you're in the top 10% of your class, no matter what high school you come from in Texas, no matter what your racial background is, you're in to the University of Texas. And that should present some diversity.
Sure.
But if it's not presenting enough diversity and separating, and we're going to get to the issue of diversity in the workplace, which I think is very different, but separating that from the case, diversity, would you agree, is an important part of the university environment, and maybe some slack should be cut there?
Well, you just said that in Texas,
right,
they take the top 10%, right?
Yes.
So here's the problem I have with this. In this day and age, it is a fact. If you want to be something, you can be it. It is equal now in the way of if you want to achieve and you want to ignore racism, you want to ignore poverty, and you want to strive to be the best that you can be that. That is what I think should be rewarded. And I think in college, that's who should be in college. In a company, that's who I would want working for me. We need to stop looking so much at color and sex and who you want to have sex with and start looking at the quality of the person. Do they work hard enough? But, you know, those types of things. The one thing about affirmative action that itself that proves that it's worthless is that now we've gotten to a point to where a black man cannot get a position because a black woman they need a black woman.
Well,
so now even
yeah,
minorities are being discriminated against.
You're right, and that's getting into the workplace, which we're going to get to.
Sure.
I want to raise another side of this, and then I want Joe to respond to it. One of the questions frequently raised when discussing affirmative action is whether the very notion should be cast as paying a debt to African Americans for the way they were treated during the slavery era, or is it rather about trying to bring the benefits of diversity to the public at large? Is it, Joe, is either valid? Is one more valid than the other? At what point is that debt paid, if that's what it's about? what's the way this should be being approached?
This is about reparations, then you're saying?
Well, there are people who do see it that way, who say, yes, we owe this to black Americans because of what we did to them. And then there are others who go, no, it's not about that at all. It's about creating diversity opportunities.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Jonathan. I think way back when affirmative action was created, it was valid, right? If the African Americans or minorities in general weren't given the same opportunities, I think now it is a more equal playing field. I remember that I was told, I'm not going to throw this person under the bus, but a guidance counselor that I had, there were two, so anybody watching this from Wayne Valley High School, it's the other person, said, you know, your last name is Concha, and that is Latino. And you can apply under Latino, and you'll have a better chance of getting into some of the colleges that you're trying to get into. And I wouldn't do it because I just thought, I'm as white as Wonder Bread, right? I'm Wayne Gretzky. I'm not Jose Concha. And I'm proud I did that.
Well, that does happen. You're absolutely right, because they can't see you. They just see your name.
Exactly.
Emery, I want to push this a little bit now to the next phase. We're talking about universities and diversity there. But you and I were talking during the break, and you raised, which I think is a completely legitimate point. Now we go into the workplace, and we see these same standards being applied, and there are now incidents where people who may not be qualified get jobs that highly qualified people aren't getting. Is that a problem?
Yeah, it is a problem because, once again, I'll just reiterate, we live in a different time and place now. We live in a country where diversity, where the people don't even look at that kind of stuff anymore, the kids or anything. So you have police departments. They'll put out an employment benefit, or they'll put out an employment, you know what I mean. They'll put out something for employment. They bring the people in. One guy gets the job.
I gotta wrap you up.
Okay. Sorry. One guy gets
We'll continue. Share your thoughts on affirmative action by going to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Let us know who you thought won the debate. Go on newsmaxpoll.com and cast your vote. We still have why the White House and the Vatican are at war over the Pope.